Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Arjun Chaudhary. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Friday, the 2nd of January. Pakistan government finalizes constitutional amendment to cover military courts. Civil society to intensify protests seeking arrest of Islamabad's Red Mosque cleric. And election fever grips Sri Lanka's campaign battle picks pace. And now for all the details. The civil and military leadership of Pakistan has agreed upon the draft amendment to the constitution for the proposed military courts. This comes even as a divide is growing among political parties on supporting the special courts. A report.
Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif chaired a high-level meeting to draw consensus among various stakeholders on amending the constitution and the implementation of the National Action Plan. The Sharif government is hoping to go ahead with its proposal for military courts in the National Assembly after gaining unanimous support from all parliamentary parties. The government and the army had earlier agreed that only an amendment to the constitution will provide legal cover to the military courts. However, three main opposition parties, the Pakistan People's Party, Awami National Party and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, which had earlier endorsed the special court, have now changed their stance. Even former Chief Justice of Pakistan, Justice Iftikhar Chaudhry, had claimed that the proposed new courts would be unconstitutional. Pakistan government mooted the idea of special courts administered by military personnel to expedite terror cases following the Peshawar Army school attack last month. The country had also revoked a 5-year moratorium on death penalties in terror cases following the incident. So far, 7 convicted terrorists have been hanged, while nearly 500 others whose mercy pleas have been rejected are also expected to be executed soon.
Afghan forces have taken charge of the country's security after the NATO troops ended its 13-year mission in the war-torn nation. The change of guard comes amid speculations of the capabilities of the Afghan force to ward off the Taliban.
The Afghan National Security Forces officially gained full security charges from the NATO troops in capital Kabul on Thursday. The ceremonial event was attended by President Ashraf Ghani, Chief Executive Abdullah Abdullah and former President Hamid Karzai. President Ghani congratulated the troops on the successful transition.
دا مبارکی ورکم تنن اموگ ملی زواکونه پدی بریالی سیویدی تد افغانستان دی ملی حاکمیت دی خاور دی ناموس دی ساتنه او دی وطن دی دفاع بشبر مسئولیت پلاس واخلی.
Former President Karzai said peace and stability in the country can only be achieved with the cooperation of its neighbor Pakistan and the US.
The war in Afghanistan is not of the Afghan people. It is not our war. It's a foreign war conducted for foreign interests. And in this war, the main elements are Pakistan and the United States. It isn't our war. Therefore, peace cannot be ours without the cooperation of Pakistan or the United States.
After more than 13 years, the United States and NATO officially ended its combat mission in Afghanistan last month. It also marked the start of a 2-year mission dubbed Resolute Support. Under the new mission, the ISAF will be replaced by a smaller force of around 18,000 foreign troops that would focus on training Afghan soldiers to battle a resilient Taliban insurgency largely on its own.
Former Bangladesh President Hussein Mohammad Irshad has condemned the statements of Bangladesh Nationalist Party Senior Vice President Tariq Rahman, insulting the country's founding father. He also accused the BNP of spreading politics of intolerance in the country.
Former President H.M. Irshad said the remarks of Tariq Rahman was shameful and an insult to the father of the nation. Speaking at the occasion of the 29th founding day of his political outfit, the Jatiya Party, on Thursday, he said everyone in the country should condemn Rahman's remarks.
BNP Jubaraj Tariq Rahman ki bolechen Bangabandhuর বিরুদ্ধে উনি নাকি রাজাকা তোমার উপর shame 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 সবাই বলো shame.
Following his controversial statements, Rahman is now facing arrest after a Dhaka court issued non-bailable warrants against him. Faced with a number of criminal charges including corruption and violence, Rahman fled the country in 2008 and is living in London ever since. Ershad claimed the fugitive BNP leader is trying to re-enter Bangladesh politics through his controversial statements.
সারা দেশে একযোগে বোমা মেরেছেন, রামরা বটমলে, পল্টনে, সিনেমা হলে বিচারক হত্যা করেছেন, 4 জন বিচারক হত্যা করেছেন, 18 জন কৃষককে হত্যা করেছেন, ক্যান্সারে 20 জন কৃষককে হত্যা করেছেন। আপনারা রাজনীতি করেন, আবার ফিরে আসতে চান ক্ষমতায়।
Ershad, who currently serves as the special envoy to the Prime Minister, also rejected the BNP's allegation of the government not allowing her party to hold rallies.
আমাদের 142টা জনসভা উনি 144 জারি করে ভেঙে দিয়েছেন। এখন বলে যে আওয়ামী লীগ জনসভা করতে দেন 140 জারি করে। তখন কথা মনে ছিল না? আপনি শুরু করেছিলেন এই সংস্কৃতি, আপনি শুরু করেছিলেন বিএনপি।
The BNP, which has boycotted the general elections last year, has no representation in the current parliament.
Civil society activists in Pakistan have threatened to resume the protests against the Red Mosque in capital Islamabad if its controversial cleric is not arrested. Protesters said they have given time until Saturday for the authorities to arrest Abdul Aziz Ghazi, failing which they will intensify the protest. Hundreds under the banner of Reclaim Our Mosque have been organizing demonstrations for over 2 weeks after Ghazi refused to condemn the Pakistan Taliban's attack on Peshawar Army School, which killed 142 people. Even though a non-bailable arrest warrant has been issued against him, police have not initiated any action so far. The Red Mosque and its adjoining seminary are for long known to be sympathizers of the Taliban. Gilgit-Baltistan is facing the test of time yet again. Widespread deforestation is triggering frequent landslides in the Himalayan region, raising levels of pollution and disrupting normal life. Here is a report.
Winter woes for people of Gilgit-Baltistan have returned. In the absence of any basic infrastructure, they are left with no other means but to fulfill their fuel needs in the traditional way. The Himalayan region, which relies heavily on firewood and kerosene, is seeing a drastic fall in its forest cover. Increasing shortages and hoarding of fuel have hit them hard.
जो हमारे पास मसला जो सर्दियों में आता है, जो एक सर्दियों का मखसूस मसला है, वो ये है कि यहाँ पे लकड़ी बहुत ज़्यादा जलाई जाती है सर्दियों में कुकिंग और हीटिंग के लिए, जिसकी वजह से यहाँ पे क्योंकि वैलीज का जो नेचर है वो ट्रैपिंग नेचर है, यहाँ से हवाएं उस जो हवा के अंदर जो आलूदगी पैदा होती है या जो धुआं खारिज होता है उसको लेके कहीं और नहीं जाते, बल्कि वो इन शहरों के अंदर या इन वादियों के अंदर ही वो ट्रैप हो जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से सर्दियों में यहाँ पे लोगों की सेहत बहुत हद तक मुतासिर होती है। उसमें ख़ासकर जो गले की बीमारियाँ, फेफड़ों की बीमारियाँ, सांस की बीमारियाँ, ये सारी इनकी वजह से पैदा होती हैं।
Perched precariously on the confluence of 3 of the highest mountain ranges in the world, the Himalayas, the Karakoram and the Hindu Kush, the region of Gilgit-Baltistan has a strategic location. It houses one of the biggest glaciers outside the polar region. They feed the rivers flowing into Pakistan's arid plains, which are lifelines of more than 3/4 of the country's population. Pakistani scientists have also been for the past few years exploring the possibility of artificially melting the glaciers in Gilgit-Baltistan. This has resulted in fast melting of the majestic water resources, raising water levels and putting the ecologically fragile region at risk of inundation.
गिलगित-बल्तिस्तान चूँकि पहाड़ी इलाका है, यहाँ पे जो ग्लेशियर्स हैं या जो यहाँ के पहाड़ हैं वो दुनिया में एक मुनफरिद मुकाम रखते हैं, और इसके मखसूस जोग्राफियाई हालात की वजह से और माहौलियाती हालात की वजह से यहाँ के जो प्रॉब्लम्स या इश्यूज़ हैं वो भी मखसूस हैं या मुनफरिद हैं। ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की वजह से जो इश्यूज़ आ रहे हैं, जिनका असरात ग्लेशियर्स के ऊपर या हमारे मौसमी हालात के ऊपर हो रहे हैं।
Pakistan, in order to meet its energy needs, is also building several hydropower projects. It has carried out large-scale deforestation for its construction, further disturbing the ecological balance of Gilgit-Baltistan.
With the presidential polls just days away, election campaign has heated up in Sri Lanka as the two main candidates continue to entice the voters. The island nation will vote on next Thursday to elect the new president.
As Sri Lanka approached the final week of campaigning for the presidential election, incumbent President Mahinda Rajapaksa launched an all-out fight to retain the presidency. Appealing to his traditional vote bank, the majority Sinhala Buddhists, on Thursday, President Rajapaksa is hoping the infrastructure development under his regime to turn into votes. He also highlighted his government's efforts in providing stability and national security against perceived enemies of the nation.
ඒ අය පිළිබඳව අද සමහරු කියනවා අද සමහර වැව් කඩලා යන්න හදනකොට ඔවුන් ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා වැලි ගෝණි ගහගෙන පැය 24 රෑ නිදි මරාගෙන වැඩ කරනවා. එහෙම තමයි මේ ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදාව හදලා තියෙන්නේ.
His main challenger, former health minister and the consensus candidate of the united opposition, Maithripala Sirisena, is also making last-minute efforts in reaching out to the electorate. The former cabinet minister accused President Rajapaksa of creating fear among people to gain vote.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයාද කියනවා එයා නැත්නම් මේ රටේ දේශපාලන අස්ථාවරත්වයක් ඇති වෙනවා. එයා නැත්නම් ආපහු යුද්ධ වෙනවා. එයා නැත්නම් NDT ඔඩු උස්සනවා. මේක හරිය යකාල කතාවක්. එහෙනම් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා තව අවුරුදු 100ක් ඉන්න ඕනේ නැත්නම් ඉතින් වෙන කවුරුහවත් යුද්ධ වෙනවා.
Rajapaksa is seeking an unprecedented third term in office after he announced snap polls in November, with nearly 2 years remaining for his term to end. The country will vote on January 8th to elect the new president.
Speeding bikes always bring a thrill to the riders and onlookers. Adding to the mix of excitement was the picturesque scenery of the beach. Take a look at how this bike race played out in India's southern coast.
With roaring waves as background, the two-wheelers took spectators to a joyride in India's southern Kerala. Scores of people flocked to southern Kochi city to witness one of the most popular beach bike racing contests. As motorcyclists from across the country engaged in a stiff fight, the adrenaline levels of the onlookers rose with each passing moment. Over 15 professionals and amateurs took part in the race to get experience of a lifetime.
എന്നല്ല നമ്മൾ പണ്ട് പഠിക്കണ കാലത്ത് ഇതിനോടുള്ള ഒരു ക്രേസ് റാലിയെ കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ള ആ ഒരു ക്രേസിലാണ് ബൈക്ക് റേസ് അങ്ങനെ ഓടിക്കാൻ വന്ന്. അപ്പോൾ 2000-ൽ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് ബീച്ച് റേസ് ഓടിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് വിൻ ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ പിന്നെ എല്ലാ കൊല്ലവും നിരന്തരം ബീച്ച് റേസ് ഓടിക്കും, എല്ലായിടത്തും പോയി ഓടിക്കാറുണ്ട്. കേരളത്തിൽ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഒരു 10-70 ബീച്ച് റേസ് നടന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. അപ്പം കൂടുതലും ബീച്ച് റേസാണ് വിൻ ചെയ്യാറുള്ളത്.
The event was part of the Kochi Carnival, which is held every year as part of the New Year celebrations. A slew of programs including beach volleyball, quiz, recitation and drawing were also part of the cultural fiesta.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. Pakistan government finalizes constitutional amendment to cover military courts. Civil society to intensify protests seeking arrest of Islamabad's Red Mosque cleric. And election fever grips Sri Lanka as campaign battle picks pace. Now viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time next week. Have a great weekend and good night.